Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you.
Y'all ready for another collection of random things I've seen on my tours relatively recently? The first one, we have to go back way before Mardi Gras started, and it is very important that this was not at a time that there were any parades. There were no costume parties happening. There was nothing really going on. And I was in the middle of my first stop, and I noticed my guests are snickering, and I'm sort of like looking around me like, what's going on? And there was a guy walking back and forth behind me dressed like Charlie Chaplin, including with the little mustache, and like walking in an over exaggerated way, swinging cane around. I'm just like, cool. Charlie Chaplin is here. Why not? Another night, not long after that, I was leading my tour and we were passing by another tour group. And as we walk by, a guy walks up with his girlfriend to join that tour. And I don't know if they were part of the tour and had just wandered away, if they were just strangers walking up to the tour on the side of the road and the tour guide hadn't noticed yet or whatever. But they just walk up and they are standing like with the guy behind the girl, and as soon as they stop moving and settle into space, he just starts humping her. And I walk by very quickly and I turn to my guests and go, "Did y'all see that?" And they're like, "Yep." And most recently, I was actually following another tour guide, learning a tour, and I was so glad I didn't have to deal with this because she goes to cross the street, and right off of Bourbon Street, right on the corner that always smells so intensely of vomit that it makes me want to vomit. There's a guy lying on the sidewalk, stretched out, with his legs up against the building, as if, he were sitting against the building, looking completely relaxed, like he's doing yoga, but making shadow puppets with his hands right above his face. And I turn to the guests that are near me to just make a joke about it so that, we don't have awkwardness. And before I can even say something, one of the guests says, "Don't do drugs." And I'm like, yup, exactly what I was going to say. But there was also relatively recently, I was trying to compile a list of them because I had a couple, but I never came up with a full list of them for this video. But who knows? It might pop up later. I think there is just certain specific kind of New Orleans etiquette that only exist in New Orleans, and no one would ever think it was etiquette outside of New Orleans. But two examples of this is recently I was waiting for a parade. I was not actually leading a tour at the moment, but I was going to go lead the tour as soon as I was done with the parade. And it was a small one and a new one, so a lot of people didn't know what was happening. And as with usual with the small ones in the quarter, the actual route was barricaded right before the parade got there. Like, cops would come through and be like, no, no. But the streets leading up to it, nope, no barricades. So there was a line of cars that just were stuck waiting there once the parade had gotten there because they just didn't realize there was a parade. And there was one person who just didn't get it and kept honking and honking and honking. And people kept like shouting back, "There's a parade! We can't let you through." And finally, a hipster guy was just like, "I'm gonna go talk to him." And went over and just leaned in the car and was like, "Hey, sorry, there is a parade happening. You're not getting through." And I turned just in time to see the guy like turn off his car and get out and just come watch the parade. But the other form of New Orleans etiquette that I loved, I had a group of guests who were too drunk. They were way too drunk. They were far past too drunk. And one of the girls in particular was the kind of drunk that I'm going, she might need to go to the hospital. And her friend are stuck together like glue because her friend's the only thing keeping her up. And I look up at one moment and realize that her and her friend are sort of stumbling away. And I'm like, okay, good. They probably need to go sit down somewhere. But because of the angle I'm standing at, I can see around the corner, and I can see that they do not actually stumble away. Instead, they just stumble to the nearest trash can, and girl one holds girl two up over the edge of the trash can, supporting her, lets girl two vomit, puke all in the trash can, turns to her and says, "You okay?" And then they come back to the tour. And I will admit, I was happy at least they went for the trash can. So that's good.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share your own experiences in the comments below.